over 25 years in risk management and leadership development, integrating her expertise with the BANK personality system, NLP, and the wealth and joy of stimulation. Michelle developed the Life's Bank Accounts framework after a personal turning point, nearly losing her daughter to depression. Now she helps executives lead with presence and purpose, ensuring they succeed in their careers and personal lives. Michelle is a Philippines first certified BANK personality and wealth and joy coach and a keynote speaker and transformational leadership mentor. She is also the author of upcoming book Strangers at Home No More, which empowers leaders to bridge the gap between professional success and personal fulfillment. That was a really wonderful bio, Michelle, and the stage is all yours.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Before I start, let me ask you this question. Do you know of high achieving business leaders? And are you one of them? Do you sometimes feel that it's a constant struggle between your work and your family life? And I get you. Sometimes it really is not easy to be a career woman, to be a wife and a mother all at the same time. So, hi, I'm Michelle Oira, and today I'll talk to you about having work life harmony and why it is important to make investments in the different aspects of your life. Now, if I ask you, for whom are you working hard for? You know, when I asked myself the same question, my quick reply was for family. But the ironic thing was, when I was a top banking executive, I actually didn't have time for family. I would work 12-hour shifts, 4 hours commute from the house to the office and back. And a typical day would go like in the morning, everybody's rushing out of the house, the kids to school, me in the hobby to work. And by the time I come home, it's either the kids are already sleeping or I'm just too dead tired to do anything anymore but sleep. Now, my big wake up call came during the pandemic when I had to deal with a crisis within a crisis. At that time, I was chief risk officer of one of the top local banks here in the Philippines. And I still remember that day. It was March 13, 2020. I was very busy that day because me and my team were preparing the organization for the impending pandemic lockdown. And in the middle of the workday, I get this call from my sister in law in Canada. And on the other line, she said, Sis, are you busy? You know, I wanted to scream and yell at her. Are you kidding me? Of course, I'm busy. We're preparing for the lockdown. The pandemic risk response was under my shop. But there was something about her voice that day that really made me pause. And I told myself, after all, she wouldn't call me in the middle of a workday if it wasn't truly urgent. And what she said next changed my life completely. She said, Sis, your daughter is thinking of ending her life. And, I couldn't respond. I didn't know what to do. For the first time in my life, I was lost. You know, I eat, breathe, and live risk. I'm used to handling risk, but this was a risk I wasn't prepared for. And a lot of things came running through my mind. And I was asking myself, how could I have not known? I'm a risk officer. My training tells me to look at red flags, but it went past by me. And it was then that I realized that I've been disconnected and somehow I've become a stranger at home. Now, what followed next is a journey of self discovery and healing, both for me and for my daughter. And I started to rebuild the relationship with her and with the rest of the family members. I started investing consciously in the different aspects of my life. I realized and asked myself, what's the cost of success? In a lot of times, success comes with hidden cost. In the pursuit of career, in the midst of all the advancements and achievements, somehow unknowingly it creates some gaps in our personal lives. I remember I met this successful businesswoman. She lost his son during the pandemic. And it wasn't COVID that the son died of, it was a different sickness. But the thing was, because the son loved her so much, and she, as a very busy, driven businesswoman, the son didn't want to bother her. So he endured in silence whatever ailment he was feeling and experiencing. And by the time he said something, it was already too late. And they lost him. And I visited the store of the businesswoman many months after, and it closed down. And I wondered how she is now. And I hope I knew her back then. And maybe she would have had a different story. The cost of success. Now, I had to pay a big price to learn my lesson. I almost lost my daughter, but I'm grateful I was given a second chance to live life differently. And I realized that back then, I was actually living the leadership paradox. You know, I've invested a lot in my team, helped them develop. I practically spend most of my waking hours with them. But I realized I wasn't making the same investment at home. I remember one time I brought my kids to to the office because that day I didn't really have somebody to look after them at home. But the typical full day I had back to back meetings and all. So I just left them in my workstation to do things. And after one of my meetings, when I came down, I saw one of my managers talking to them. And he was telling my kids how lucky they are to have me as a mom. And he was sharing stories of how I'm more than a boss to them, how I'm a mentor, somebody who looked after their welfare and development. And I was like their mom at work. And I remember seeing my kids' faces blank, as if they could not relate to the person my manager was describing. And I realized, yeah, I've become a stranger at home. And in one of my afternoon dates with my son recently, I got to confirm that. I was sharing some childhood stories and some of my thoughts. And my son said, "Thanks for sharing, Mom. I didn't know that about you." And he went on to say that before, when I was this busy corporate woman, all he knew was that I was a top banking executive and nothing more. He didn't really know me as a person for who I am. And I realized that sometimes, as parents, we get too caught up in just providing for the material needs of the family. And we assume that it's okay with them. But the thing is, it's not always okay. And I've learned in life not to assume. Because if you look at the word assume, it makes an ass of you and me. So it's really in those deep, meaningful conversations that you really unlock what are the true feelings and thoughts behind the people you deal with. Now, work life balance is a myth. You know, if we'll consider our life like a financial portfolio, let me ask you, how many of you have more than one bank account? I'm sure many, right? Now, if you look at those bank accounts that you have and compare them side by side, do they have exactly the same balances down to the last cents? I doubt. So, just like our financial portfolio, the different aspects of our lives won't really have exactly the same balance. At the same time, it's important that we keep a healthy level of balance in those accounts. Otherwise, if you're not consciously investing in them, it could go dormant. Or worse, if a major withdrawal happens, it can even close out. And that's something we don't want. So I call it investing in our life's bank accounts. And what does it stand for? Our leadership, impact, family, emotional strength, and social connections. These are the different aspects of our lives where we need to make conscious investments. Leadership is about leading with passion and purpose, not just in the workplace, but also at home. When we talk of impact, we talk of what legacy do we want to leave behind? How do we want to be remembered? Not just by the people we've worked with, but more importantly, by our family, our loved ones, and our children. Now, family, we all know, is the foundation of what sustains us, and it's what matters the most. But sadly, sometimes when we're too caught up In the achievements and in the success, they're the first ones that suffer. Emotional strength is our ability to connect with ourselves authentically, taking care of ourselves, practicing self care, and making sure that we grow as a person and as an individual. And of course, we're not meant to live alone. And social connections mean nurturing meaningful relationships with the people around us, relationships beyond the workplace. So today, I will share with you 3 tips that has helped me personally rebuild my life's bank accounts and create that work-life harmony you deserve. So first is self-awareness because it starts with you. I realized that it wasn't really the work per se that was making me work long hours. It was me. It was my personality. My knowledge and blueprint code using the bank personality system was such that it was driving me to work as a perfectionist. So that meant long hours at work because I just had to make it perfect. Like, I ended up absorbing a lot of work that wasn't mine in the first place, simply because I had such high standards that I had to redo some of the work of my colleagues when I feel like it hasn't met my high standards. But then again, was it all worth it? And was it the right thing to do? And I realized I actually didn't empower them that way. And so with bank, I realized who I was and how I operate. And with that awareness, it led me also to better understand the people around me, including my kids. And I realized when I cracked my daughter's bank personality code, she was my exact opposite. I'm a high knowledge blueprint. She's a high action nurturer. And I realized that was the cause of why oftentimes we would have these clashes, simply because we had different personalities and different values. Now, second, I would like you to remember that you have to be present and live your life 100% moment by moment. You know, it just 100% because giving 110 and 120% leads to burnout. Your 100% moment by moment. What does that mean? It means that wherever you are, you give it your all. If you're at work, give it your 100% so that you get to really be more productive and you get to get the job done. Now, when you're at home, be 100% present for your family and loved ones. You know, sometimes we get things mixed up. I got it mixed up. You know, there were moments I was at work, but my mind was elsewhere. I'm thinking also of my family back home or thinking of what they're actually doing in school. And so my attention was divided. Sometimes when I'm at home, I'm physically present, but I'm not really with them because I'm still thinking of work and the things I have to do. And sometimes even conversations at dinner table revolved around work. It's what Harvard would say the psychological interference of work on family life. Like work has taken the front seat in our lives that even at home, it still takes center stage. So it's that consciousness to be present fully where you are that really matters. It can be as simple as really making sure there's meaningful conversations at dinner time, you know, take away all those gadgets so that you can actually look at each other eye to eye. As simple as asking everyone, how was your day? And sharing stories of our experiences. Something simple that we at times forget. And lastly, I ask you to take time to pause and check on your life's bank accounts. Ask yourself, where have I made deposits today? Where do I need to make more investments? Is it in my leadership account? Is it in my impact account? Is it in my family account? Is it in my emotional strength? Or is it in my social connections? So, what is it that you commit to do to make that investment? And today, I'm happy to share with you that my relationship with my daughter is doing great. Perfect? No, because we still have our occasional clashes because of our personality differences. But I've become her bestie. I'm her concert and shopping buddy. And I can say I'm really a huge part of her life. And we get to really carry those meaningful conversations. And I'm truly grateful for that opportunity that the pandemic gave me to rebuild my life and rebuild my relationship. So I ask you now, will you take this step to ensure that you're not a stranger at home? And are you committed to make investments in the different aspects of your life? So remember, your greatest leadership legacy isn't really in the titles that you earn, but in the lives that you touch. So thank you, everyone.
Essentially, especially your journey was really inspiring, and you have gone through a lot of things in your life, but now you are here. We are happy for that, and we have some questions for you, and I want to ask you one. What personal lessons have shaped your approach to leadership coaching?
So when I coach business leaders, and the high achieving ones who can really have most of their energies and focus on their work, I remind them that You have to consciously take tab whether you're also taking care of the other aspects of your life. And it's leading with emotional intelligence, that helps you be more self aware and helps you also lead others with purpose and passion and being present. And the formula is simple, it need not be complicated. You just need to give your 100% moment by moment wherever you are. And sometimes we just need to be reminded, because where our priorities are, and we can, get off track in pursuit of our success at work, that you forget the things that matter the most.
Yeah, thank you for your answer and thanks for your valuable time, Vishri. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Thank you. It's my pleasure.